My day or two of shopping has gone from $40 to $50 to $60. You know, my one bag of groceries and my soda was $60 today. Which is kind of stunning.
Environmental factors such as droughts and floods have also affected some of the prices.
For more than 30 years, Arizona iced tea has been a standard of value, with its iconic tall boys priced at just 99 cents. However, that price point is now under serious threat due to a 50% tariff on imported aluminum. That's a key material for those signature cans. The beverage company uses more than 100 million pounds of aluminum each year, with some coming from Canada, which will be directly impacted by tariffs.
So the price of that tea has been the same since like 1987. The company CEO says if the price of the Arizona iced tea had kept pace with inflation, it would now cost $1.99. And
wow.
all those middle school kids wouldn't buy it anymore, right?
Exactly.
So you have to think about who would buy if you raise your price.
Wow, that is interesting, to be sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Quick reminder to stick around. We're going to be streaming Take 2 right after this. Just scan the QR code to download the Fox Local app, or you can watch it on KTVU.com as well. And we'll see you again at noon after Take 2 as well. Stick around. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Welcome to Take 2, where we go over some of the topics and some of the items we discussed during Mornings on 2. I'm Allie Rasmus. Andre Sr. joining me this morning. We are talking about the subject of our megaphone poll this morning was a study that came out that said the number of adults in the U.S. consuming alcoholic beverages is at a historic low. This is according to Gallup. The pollster, they found 54% of Americans say they consume alcoholic beverages on occasion, and that is the lowest number in 90 years. So taking a look at our latest megaphone poll, it seems to be about 50%, hovering right around half of the people responding say, yes, they consume alcoholic beverages, but on a limited amount, whereas the other 50% say they either don't consume it at all, or 30% saying, yeah, they do all the time, because every day is a special occasion.
Every day is 5 o'clock somewhere.
So we were theorizing, kind of talking during the break about what are some of the possible reasons for this, and I think it's multiple reasons, of course.
Yeah.
I think recently, in the last couple of years, the World Health Organization, Andre, you mentioned the NIH came out with data that said alcohol is not as healthy for us as
even red wine. I mean, they even pointed out red wine is not there have been, stories that we've done over the years, but there is no conclusive evidence. The NIH finds that red wine is actually healthier for you.
Right. That used to be the recommendation, like a glass of red wine every day is
Yeah,
okay,
I mean, I guess it works in some areas, but I guess it depends on your overall diet at the same time. But too much alcohol can't be good, right?
Yeah.
Too much of a good thing. It's
Right.
never good.
Right. And I mean, I know how it makes me feel after I drink. I don't feel great after having really any amount of alcohol. So
well,
it means it's gotta be
too
doing
much.
something.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's not a good thing. So when I was younger, of course, I can recover faster, but I can't do that anymore. So of course, that's
same.
led to less partying for me.
Yeah, so maybe is it because of an aging population? But then you think about that, Gen Zers. There's a lot of people in Gen Z who.
That's what I'm saying. It's
also
not just. I think it's a younger generation. Maybe a messaging. And also, Allie, I was thinking, why could this be? And I thought, well, what's different since we were kids was that marijuana is legal. I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
So maybe there's more alternatives.
There's an alternative,
There used to be.
Just like television, you have more alternatives in what you watch, and so now you have alternatives in what you use. It's quite possible that might be the case. More people probably, marijuana is more normalized now than it was before.
Right.
So, so if you're saying, well, I can use marijuana and not wake up with a hangover. Maybe that's what I'll use instead of drinking and partying that way.
I remember recently just walking on the Cal campus, and I walked past this really busy storefront, and I thought, is this this was during kind of the afternoon hour, and there was tons of people kind of even almost spilling out into the street, and I thought, what is going on here? It was a rock climbing wall or rock climbing gym or storefront.
Was that popular?
It was super popular, and I thought, well, maybe this is what kids now do.
I've never seen a line for
20-year-olds.
I've never seen a line for rock climbing.
Yeah,
ever.
Maybe this is what younger people are doing to meet others, and I thought that's
interesting.
That's a healthier alternative
and it's more
than
fun.
going to a bar.
Well, you go to a bar, you party, you wake up with a hangover. You go to rock climbing, you hang out with some people.
You meet some people.
You meet some people. Then maybe you go for a drink, but you don't have to get crazy.
Right.
There's more productive. There are a lot more things to do probably than when we were kids too.
Yeah, or maybe people are just better at finding alternatives, whether it's an alternative substance or alternative activities.
Well, finding those things are easier now because many people find things to do on TikTok or Instagram. You'll have activities, check this out. Or there are a few people I follow on social media that show you these cool places. All over, even just the Bay Area here that you've never even thought to visit before. So I think that has probably something to do with it. You can find more things to do and visit now.
The other factor that I was thinking about was maybe with the use of GLP-1s and weight loss medication, consumption overall is down of food and beverages. So
yeah, that could be,
that could be a factor as well.
It says on Gallup, which took this poll here, the high back in 1974 to 81 for drinking was 68 to 71%. So that's how many people were drinking, using alcohol back then, and now it's down to 53%. That's a pretty steep drop in a short amount of time.
Yeah, people are still drinking, just not as frequently.
That's not as frequently, yeah.
But then I also wonder, as part of this, I wonder what the numbers were before the pandemic, because of course we've talked a bit before about how after the pandemic, people stopped gathering in social places like bars and.
Yeah, but it also caused an issue at home too. Some people I do remember reporting on people that. Being locked away, not around people.
So maybe there was some more drinking that happened.
Susceptible to that type of thing. But it's interesting. I'm looking for the contrast here in the Gallup poll survey from years past, and if they had any numbers comparing it to the pandemic levels, and to see how it compares to now. But let's see, men down 5%. Women down 11% since 2003. White adults down 11%. People of color down 2%. So it has a breakdown. Age groups 18 to 34 down 9%. 35 to 54 down 10%. 55 and older down 5%.
So it's that mid-tier. Middle-aged people who are drinking less.
And it even has a breakdown of annual household income, too, and it looks like people that make less than $40,000 a year, it's down 14%. People that made more than $100,000 a year, it's down 13%. And people between $40,000 and $99,000 a year, down 4%. It's interesting.
So it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
A similar percentage drop regardless of income.
Yeah, regardless of income. So, yeah,
So
it's
then maybe we can infer that maybe then it doesn't have to do with the cost of alcohol then.
yeah, it doesn't look like it based on the numbers I'm reading here.
It's just changing habits.
Yeah.
Changing maybe more alternatives.
Which maybe, it may be good. I mean, know, and even nowadays we have more alternative, healthy options of food, of things to consume than we did back in the day. And I think I was joking when we were on the set a few minutes ago that I remember when they came out with the big gulp, like the bigger gulp. The drinks just kept getting bigger and bigger. I'm like, who can drink all of that in one day? But people were drinking more of that, but maybe people are downsizing now. And to your point here, people that are on GLP-1s, you can't eat that much, so you're
just eating and drinking and
yeah.
consuming less. But
Exactly.
the industry, the beverage industry, has kind of tuned into this because they have. You see an introduction in restaurants and bars of mocktails. Those have become much more popular.
I've noticed the same thing myself.
So, I mean,
yeah, people are using, people are drinking those as well.
They're definitely tuned into the trends or have noticed the trends. And I mean, it has come as a kind of a financial hit to a lot of bars and restaurants.
Yeah, I mean,
I know we've reported on that before.
Well, less people are smoking too. So if you're comparing vices, drinking alcohol and drinking, and smoking cigarettes, less people are doing these things. But there's also a diversity of what you can do now. People are vaping more, probably. They've replaced smoking with vaping, and how does that factor into the overall number? And how does using marijuana as opposed to alcohol factor into the overall number? People may be using less alcohol, but are they using more marijuana?
Yeah.
Those studies have yet to come out. Those are ongoing things that we follow.
Less alcohol consumption kind of across the board according to this poll. Number of different reasons. We could discuss it all day, but we're going to take a quick break and we'll have more Take Two in just a few minutes. Welcome to Take Two. We are discussing and going over some of the topics that we found ourselves chit-chatting about during the commercial breaks, during the show. One of them that kind of piqued my interest was food inflation. So the Consumer Price Index increased, about 3% last month for July. So year over year, overall cost went up a little under 3%. But if you separate the cost of food specifically and some specific food items, the cost inflation, the inflation rate is much higher. So year over year, beef prices are up 8 to 10%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Poultry, fish, and eggs are up more than 5%. Coffee up nearly 10%. And because of tariffs, I've been told by several economic experts, we can expect possibly the price of coffee to go up even more than 10% because U.S. drinks a lot of coffee exported from Brazil.
Yep.
And Brazil now faces a 50% tariff on its goods. So of all the things on that list, I think coffee is very important to me.
I think Starbucks actually gets most of their coffee beans from Brazil as well. So there was chat of Starbucks being hit by this, but I think they said they're not going to raise their prices for their consumers. But we'll see how long that lasts.
There's a question about, how, will retailers absorb the cost? And
Some
if
are,
so,
yeah.
But for how long?
But if it goes on for like a couple of years,
right?
They're definitely going to want to make up for some of that money.
Well, we heard from some big area shoppers who noticed and have noticed how much more expensive their grocery bills are. Take a listen.
My grocery bill over the last couple of years for like my day or two of shopping has gone from $40 to $50 to $60. My one bag of groceries and my soda was $60 today. Which is kind of stunning.
Especially when you consider, poultry, fish, and eggs up more than 5%. Those are protein staples. And so that's the food, the nutrient-dense food that you want to eat to make yourself feel full.
Those are like the ones
That's like the
ones
main
that you want.
entree.
Yeah, exactly. So that's getting hit pretty badly right now. But I do know when I go to the store, picking up a few items can be expensive. And the closest grocery store I have to where I live is Whole Foods, and it is not cheap. And I go in there and I pick up just a few things, end up spending like $100. I'm like, this is crazy.
You gotta shop the sale stuff at Whole Foods.
I don't even know.
Then it's somewhat more reasonable.
The sale stuff? What do you mean?
Yeah, if you shop on your phone and the app, the Whole Foods app, like Amazon app, they have a grocery section,
right?
And it will say, it'll show a banner. Here's what's on sale, and it'll show everything that you can buy. And I will only buy stuff.
Buy the stuff that's on sale. So normally I go to Target, but if I don't drive all the way to Target, I'll just go to Whole Foods. But then it hurts my bottom line.
Well, if you get a Target Red Card, you get 5% off everything.
Oh, okay.
So you got to see. I've figured this whole situation out because I'm always buying.
By the way, I went to Whole
kids.
Foods and I ran into a woman yesterday that remembers Allie because what's that site that you use?
Oh, Buy Nothing.
Buy Nothing. She's behind me we're at the line, getting ready to get purchase her food, and she sees me. She's like, Andre. She's like, I see Allie all the time, and I got something from her from Buy Nothing.
Did she say what it was?
I didn't. I don't think I asked her because I didn't know what it was, so I didn't want to be too invasive. But she was there with her partner. And she was bragging, just like you and Gassia brag about this Buy Nothing website. Her face lit up when talking about it, and talking about you reminded her of it because she picked up something from you.
Now I'm curious to know, to think about what it could have been. I mean, we recently cleared out our garage, so I wonder. I mean, I gave away a bunch of old birthday party decorations for like preschoolers. My kids are not preschoolers, so I'm like, we don't need this anymore. I wonder if it was that. Who knows?
I should have asked.
But I mean, that is another way. The reason why those Buy Nothing sites are so popular is because it is another way to
save a few dollars,
save money here and there when the price of everything's going up. One thing that isn't going up in price, though, are flights. You talked to an expert about that.
Yeah, so flights domestically are let me pull up the information, but it was an interesting conversation that I had with the CEO and founder of Dollar Flight Club, and talking about, how domestic travel is how the prices are with domestic travel, why it costs so much to fly out of the Bay Area, and I'll just read you what we have here. According to Dollar Fly Club, domestic fares are 17% lower than in 2019 and 5% lower than last year. For Bay Area travelers, though, round-trip fare to destinations along the Western Range, they range from just $200 to as little as $300. And we're talking about all the way to Canada. Calgary, I think, is one of the areas that he mentioned, all the way down up to Denver and to Southern California. Prices are pretty good when you're flying within the Western Range from here and to parts of the other parts of the country as well. However, flights internationally outside of the Bay Area, they tend to be a little bit more expensive.
And he's talking about for what period? Like the fall into winter?
Well, we're specifically focusing on Labor Day for our conversation. Okay. And if you're wanting to book right now, this is what you're going to see. If you're going to book for the Labor Day right now to go internationally, it's you're going to be paying some pretty high prices.
Is that because we're so close to Labor Day for international planning?
We're close. We're very close, because I think he said you're pretty much past the deadline right now for international travel. But if you still wanted, there's still some great deals for Labor Day right now domestically, and specifically along the western part of the continent, so to speak.
It makes sense, because summer's kind of wrapping up.
It's wrapping up. Although, you can go to places like Mexico, those places are still affordable, but far away travel like Europe, those places are going to be much more expensive. He did recommend what he calls split ticket, which is, flying to an airport near where you want to go and taking transportation. So if you want to fly to LA and you find a ticket is cheaper to fly to San Diego and then get transportation up to LA. And the other thing that he mentioned, if you were to travel internationally, he's giving an example of a split ticket, is maybe flying, if you want to go to London, but flying to Paris and taking the train into London, which it's. And
then would you have to fly from London back?
You don't, not necessarily. You buy a ticket flying from another airport back home.
Okay.
So it may be Gatwick, it may be from Heathrow, wherever the closest airport is. You book a separate ticket flying back home to where you have to go.
So maybe it allows you to kind of pick up the segments that haven't been sold yet.
He's saying you could save 15 to 20% doing things that way.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a lot of money, especially if you're traveling on a budget.
Yeah.
Which I know a lot of people do. I have a friend that's traveling on a budget right now down in South America, to Argentina and to the Amazon in Brazil, and she travels on a very tight budget. She stays in hostels, and she looks for the best deals. And
we should have her on the show.
She lives in China, so her English is not the best. Otherwise, I would have her on. But I also have a friend that was a lawyer, and she quit her job. She quit her job as a lawyer to be a travel writer. Okay. So now she's an influencer on social media, and she travels around the world. One of her big things, she wrote a book called 12 Countries in 12 Months, and she traveled to a country each month on a budget. She talks about the right credit cards to get to save. And so she, the Chase Sapphire is one big one that she has, and she, you kind of keep track of what they allow you to do. She can get access to the lounges, which I've never even been in an airport lounge.
Yeah, no,
but I hear they're nice.
That's a luxury, yeah.
Yeah, I hear they're really nice. But if you get the right credit cards, you can get access to those lounges. If you get like the certain TSA pre-check can give you access to certain things that you normally wouldn't get.
You have to get advice from an experienced
person,
traveler to find out all of those tips.
Yeah, and she even told me that people have certain credit cards that allow them certain perks. And I said, well, wouldn't you have to keep a spreadsheet? She says, yes, but there are apps that will allow you to, if you have certain credit cards, to keep track of all the different perks from all the different airlines.
That sounds like a full-time job.
Well, I guess the app is supposed to make it easier for you.
But even just setting up the app. But I mean, if you do it all the time, then it makes sense to invest
people
the time
that like travel, they are into it like heavy duty. So it's not really work for them because they love doing it.
Well, we should get them on the show and find out.
Meet someone like that.
More. All right, we're going to have more Take Two. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Take Two, where we focus and discuss some of the things that we are talking about and the stories that we covered in Mornings on 2. One of them was a new analysis that shows Bay Area cities are behind in trying to reach the housing goals set by the state. Of course, housing, a big issue. There's always some sort of news story that we're talking about real estate, how expensive it is in the Bay Area. And what economists will tell you is that more housing, if you build more housing, it should theoretically lower the price of housing, but that's not always, it's not always a perfect equation.
Right, but so in other parts of the country, there's always construction going on. That does not seem to be the case here.
No.
And I know while people might drive around and see construction, this is not on the scale that I've seen in other parts of the country where I've lived or where I've traveled. The Chronicle pointed out this great part here. You know, the state has mandated that every metropolitan city, Bay Area city, must come up with a plan to increase the number of housing. And the Chronicle went through the numbers. The Walnut Creek is supposed to permit 5,800 new homes from 2023 to 2031, according to California Housing Department. At the end of last year, it approved just 85 homes. And you also might remember a year or so ago in San Francisco, they were supposed to approve their plan to build additional housing in the city. And if you don't approve those plans, the city was going to impose up on you how many new housing units you have to be built in the city.
Right, and other things like the buyer's remedy get triggered, which means you can, someone can then go in and build without following some of the local zoning laws. Just with the idea of more housing stock is needed.
Is that a state requirement?
That's a state. That's apparently, if you don't meet the requirement, that's one of the penalties.
Well, here's what happened. San Francisco could not get, could not come to the agreement on a plan, so the state imposed its own housing requirements on the city, which would mean that, if you were trying to, I'm sure this is going to go through legal issues, but if they were getting a lot of pushback from some people, some communities, I guess, who didn't want multi-housing complexes in their community, that type of thing, which is not unusual to hear about.
Right.
But because of the lack of housing, the building of housing, the construction of housing all across California, we're constantly seeing prices increase. Good if you own a home, bad if you're trying to get in on buying a home. And it remains a problem here in California because of the strict permitting process.
According to this analysis, the one city in the Bay Area that is doing well at meeting its housing goals is the city of Santa Rosa. Increased its housing stock at 38%. So despite the efforts of some local governments, planning officials say the cost of construction is a big factor in all this. Also the permitting process, also resistance to certain...
cost of construction is also a big deal. Yeah,
that's also
covering the story
up.
over the years. Daly City has greenlit 72 units of its 4,800 home goal. San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose had reached permitted less than 10% of their respective targets. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes over the years.
Part of the challenge, though, also I will say, is the fact that there's just not as much space to build.
There's space. Depends on
in some communities, there's really not that much space to add the amount of housing that because you're landlocked, you're locked by the bay.
I get it. I get it, certainly.
It's not like in Texas or Dallas
sprawling.
suburbs where you can just expand as far out as you'd like.
It's either that or price people out, which is what's happening.
And then when you see new developments kind of in the areas, East Contra Costa County, I always think, where is all the water going to come from for tens of thousands of homes in a new development? We know that's
it's happening in other parts of the country. I'm sure they'll figure it out. If you want the population to keep growing here, which they need, you need housing.
Or maybe just more turnover of housing. Anyway, so much to talk about with Take Two. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. Check out Off the Mic with Gosh.